Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D-Shift podcast. And today we are going to talk about something that is so important for women to consider, and that is, what are the opportunities that are awaiting you post-divorce that may benefit you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and financially? And one of those possibilities is moving from maybe a corporate job or maybe from being a stay-at-home mom, which is a big full-time job, but also maybe looking at running your own business. So I am really excited to have a guest expert today who's going to talk to us all about this idea of moving into entrepreneurship. So I want to welcome Amber Farrell. She is a third-generation entrepreneur. She is a single mom and an international best-selling author who really helps people start and develop their own entrepreneur journey. So Amber, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Marty. What a privilege to be with you and your audience today.
Well, it's so great to hear from women who have gone through challenges and have used those challenges, I always say, as a springboard to get their life started or to start a new chapter of their life. So, Amber, I always ask people to tell a little bit about their backstory and how they ended up getting to where they are today.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I am a third generation entrepreneur. I grew up watching my parents work very hard. Many years, their businesses were located in our family home, which was quite small and humble. We were a blended family. So my stepfather came into their relationship with two boys. My mother came into the relationship with me, and we became a dysfunctional Brady Bunch, if you will. And why not throw on more stress of being self-employed? That's what we do, right? So yeah. So I grew up in a blended, self-employed home. I finished high school 2 years early, went to Baylor University, Hay-Sickum Bears. I sang opera for many years, and then I got married to my now ex-husband, and we worked in the family business for well over a decade. And if you want to talk about dysfunction, we could do a whole episode on family business and the stresses and the environment of family business. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to leave family business when I sold my first business, of which I was 99% owner. And so I left the family business. I worked in private equity and represented the company that I sold, and then had my son and decided that it was time to stop building someone else's dream, and it was time to build my dream. And children do that. Children inspire you. They inspire you to be better versions of ourselves. And they really become the purpose of our lives if we allow it, and take our roles as mothers and parents seriously. And so after my divorce, that really is just what continued to fuel the passion for me, was a sense of survival and autonomy and recovery from years of narcissistic abuse, and really uncovering the abuse that had happened throughout my life, which led me to making a very poor marriage decision to begin with. And now, as a business owner with a small team, we love to empower other business owners with tools and resources to give them really the freedom and the flexibility that they're seeking, because that's what entrepreneurship is all about, is freedom and flexibility.
Yeah, and so thank you for sharing that. And I think this story is something that I find with a lot of people that work in this area of supporting, particularly women, although I know you work with business owners of both genders, of all genders, but it is really interesting to me how many women have gone through what you're talking about, either a difficult divorce or an abusive relationship and then a divorce, whatever the combination may be, and then have said, and I want to help others navigate this process. And I think, like you mentioned, that divorce can be that opportunity to move beyond maybe what you thought was your boundary or what you thought was your limitations. And entrepreneurship is not an easy it's not an easy path, but it's so rewarding once you kind of get it under your belt and get rolling forward. So let's talk a little bit about that whole idea of what if you think you want to be an entrepreneur and you're going through a divorce? What advice would you give, or where would you say people should even start, particularly women, maybe who have some corporate experience or some retail experience or some work experience, but are not like you, kind of raised with that entrepreneur spirit?
Yeah. Well, it's a very difficult decision to make, Marty. And I have to say that I am not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one in real life. So, of course, when you're going through a divorce, there are tons of legal things to consider in terms of your separate property versus community property, your funding opportunities, things like that. So, the first thing I would say is befriend a great family lawyer and seek their advice,
Yes.
because you do need to think about the repercussions of your estate and your income and your autonomy. So I like to begin with strategy. I'm a strategic thinker. I am not a good details person. So always think about it from the overview of, are you going to be able to do this and protect yourself and protect your children? That's number one. So consulting with a legal expert is certainly the first thing to do. The second thing that I would say is, what are your goals as a business owner? Who do you hope to impact? What is the unique skill set that you bring to the table? And don't expect overnight success. It is a time, energy, and effort. I've been at this for over 4.5 years, and there's still ups and downs. So if you are risk adverse, I would say think twice about entrepreneurship, and you might consider giving yourself a runway of time,
Right.
energy, and money before you fully make that transition. I did consulting for many years and still worked a full-time job in order to build up the clientele and the branding and the brand awareness before I went full time. So really tapping into your network, to summarize, Marty, I would say talk with a legal expert, think about your unique selling opportunity, tap into that local network, and then think about what the time, energy, and effort is going to look like on your side.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, Amber, because this is really important. So I want to highlight this because I am very strategic with my clients. What Amber said is honestly, this is like gold. Do not do anything to jeopardize your current career if you're working, or to change your income, or to make any strategic investments or moves unless you talk to the appropriate professionals in your divorce. I'm in Texas. It is a 50-50 community property state. Sounds like you're in Texas too, Amber. If
Yep.
you were to start a business while you're still legally married to your spouse, they're entitled to 50% of that asset. You need to think, be
Yeah.
careful. And even in an equitable property distribution state, the same information can be relevant. So don't do anything rash. And also consider, if you're going to be moving from corporate to entrepreneurship, that can influence your opportunity to apply for a mortgage, to qualify for a mortgage. It can impact your ability to take out a loan. It can do a whole bunch of things. So make sure you check that. Let's say you've checked off all those boxes now, and let's say it's post divorce. That's an easier one to work with. Post divorce.
Woo! Congrats.
Yes. Yes. And you're thinking, I would like to become self-employed. Let's say you have a cushion in the bank, you've got things organized, you want to move forward. What are some things, like I heard you say, think about what you can bring to the table as an entrepreneur. What else do you have to focus in on?
So I would say the first thing that frequently gets overlooked is your messaging. It's very noisy out there, and a new business has to do 10 times the amount of work to cut through the noise and get noticed. So I tell all of my clients, you need to focus on the 4 C's of marketing for it to be effective in order for you to make a dent. So number one is clear copy. Make sure that people understand when you're talking about your business or your services. Know what's in it for them quickly and go straight to the problem that you solve for them first. Get out there and shake hands and kiss babies and work that network. I have a friend that has a fantastic program called the 30 Coffees Paradigm, and she coaches business owners how to do 30 coffees in 30 days to generate their pipeline. So number one, 30 coffees in 30 days, work that network and make sure that you've got a clear message so that people understand immediately what's in it for them.
That's the thing I think they don't teach you enough of. Um,
Hmm.
if you do any kind of training, if you become a coach, if you want to become a coach and you do the coaching certification or whatever it may be, there's really very limited information on, okay, now that you've got this, how do you start your business? And the same thing is, if you're selling a product, how do you, how do you get it noticed? Like, how do you do that? And I hear, people spending hours and hours doing TikTok videos and, social media posts. And it's just like, it's kind of like just going outside and just yelling into your neighborhood because nobody's going to
Yeah.
necessarily notice you.
It's so true. The magical question that you need to ask everyone when you're talking about your business is this, Marty. Who do you know that would benefit from what I'm doing?
Right,
No one wants to be sold to, but everyone loves to help the people that they like, know, and trust. So if you say, who do you know that might could use my product or service? Then that opens the opportunity for someone else to say, well, I just talked to so and so last week at the PTA meeting. Or if you struck gold, then that person might say, well, me, I'm someone that
right,
needs your product or service. But they're only going to say that if they feel comfortable enough to share that with you. So, who do you know is a
right,
great door opener for a
right.
new business?
And one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was way back when I was starting my business in, oh gosh, when was that now? 2011 is what I think when I started my first one, is that you have to be able to say what you do in 30 words or less. Because if you can't define
Yes.
what you do, nobody understands. If
Oh,
you say,
yeah.
I do this and I do this, and oh, yeah, I can do that and I can do that, it dilutes your message. So you've got to be really specific about what you're doing. And I think for a lot of women that want to be fixers and want to make everything work and want to help everybody, it can be hard to really narrow it down to just that one specific message.
I agree with you. And I think instead of, asking or answering the question, what do you do? I like to pose a question back. So when someone's asking about a new business and they say, well, tell me about your business or what do you do? I like to coach my clients to say, well, have you ever been in this situation where this problem happens? Well, here's how I solve that problem. And that way you're painting a picture immediately that makes them go, "Oh, that's interesting. That is something that I've seen happen in real life." So an example would be maybe you're a caterer or you're a on-demand chef, right? And it's a situation where someone goes, "Well, what do you do?" And you say, "Well, have you ever been in a situation where you've worked all day long and you come home and your whole family's hungry, but you just don't have the energy or time to throw together a healthy meal? I bring those healthy meals to your door." Boom.
Yeah,
Now you've cut through the clutter of why do I need you? Who are you? What do you do? And what's in it for me? So
yeah,
always respond back with the problem that you bring to the equation
yeah. Oh, I love that.
or the
And
problem that you solve. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing is, um, when you if you just tell clients, oh, I'm a chef or I'm a personal chef, then whoever might be listening, they already have their own vision of what that is. Maybe it's like, oh, that's only what really rich people use, or I don't want somebody else coming into my house in my kitchen. And that may not be at all what your job offers. So this is really important information. Let me ask you a question, Amber, and this may kind of put you on the spot, so you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I always tell people that. What do you think is the biggest limiting belief or negative message or internal criticism that you hear women who maybe have never been in sort of the business owner role that prevents them from taking this step, even though in their heart they're thinking, I would love to be able to make being a personal chef my full-time job. What holds them back the most?
I think the limiting belief that holds them back the most, Marty, is that they don't see the value in their uniqueness. People hire people that they know, like, and trust. And you can have a catering business, and I can have a catering business, and you can sell blueberry muffins, and I can sell brownies. And we are going to appeal to two different audiences because blueberry muffins are delicious in the morning and brownies are great for after the sports game, right? So when a woman doesn't think that her unique skill set matters or that her uniqueness and her unique approach is not going to be compelling to people, I think that's a really inaccurate
Mm,
limiting belief.
yeah,
Because the bottom line is that there's plenty of business to go around,
yeah,
and you are not going to attract the same book of business that someone else that does the same thing that you do does.
yeah.
So lean into who God created you to be, lean into your unique story, your unique space, your unique talents, and recognize that there is someone out there that's going to need what you offer.
Yeah, and just this always amazes me. So I'm in a small, very rural area of Texas, and you go to a big city. I went to New York last year, and every second I was in Times Square area, every second place was a restaurant. And there was multiple restaurants that sold the exact same type of food. And you know what? Every one of those restaurants was packed. So we have to think about this, that we don't have to be, we don't have to be the Starbucks or the Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. We just have to get the audience or the clients or the customers that want to do business with us. And I love that
Yeah.
message because that's what I hear so many women say, well, but what do I have to offer? Like, I'm just, and I hear this all the time. I'm just a mom. I'm just a housewife. I've been at home for 10 years or 20 years or 15 years or whatever it is. Those are all skills that are very marketable. Running a home
Mhm.
is a full-time job. Raising kids is a full-time job. Yeah,
100% it is. And you want to talk about working moms can multitask like nobody else can. They can
exactly.
rule the world.
They're like the superpower of project managers on steroids.
That's right.
For sure, for
Absolutely.
sure. So, Amber, let's talk about something that I know that you had mentioned was kind of an area that you wanted to focus on. This whole idea of leaving a relationship and maybe you were abandoned in the process, and now you feel sort of like I don't, you're not whole, you're not necessarily worthy, and you're really taking that, well, my partner left, that abandoned, that sense of abandonment, you're taking that really personal. How can you avoid doing that so that it doesn't impact whatever you decide to do in the future, whether it's start your own business, go back to corporate, whatever it may be?
Well, I think we do take it personally, and I think it's incredibly important to own the emotion and the process and to understand that abandonment does happen sometimes years before we recognize it. Abandonment can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be financial, it can be just straight up, neglectful in any capacity. And abandonment doesn't always come from a spouse. It can come from years of history of a dysfunctional family or a parental unit, right? And so I think it's important to own and recognize what abandonment is and does, and to understand that it's never okay. And just because someone has abandoned you doesn't mean that it is necessarily your fault or that you are unworthy or unlovable. It just means that that person is no longer a person in your life that's going to bring value. And that was a choice that they made. And so accepting the fact that you did not choose to be abandoned, but you have to move on
Right.
and stop clinging to the person that did not see your value, and recognize that other people will see your value, that one decision does not define your future.
Yeah, that is, and I think that's also a skill as an entrepreneur. You have to get a little bit thick skin because you are going to have people that are going to complain about your product or service, that are going to not not see value in what you're doing. And it may be a friend or a family member that's trying to talk you out of doing whatever you feel is your life passion and purpose. And we have to become comfortable in just saying, I recognize that's what you want to do. And, vaya con Dios, we'll see you later. Because we can't,
Yep.
so many women want to be that, that whole people pleaser thing. And,
Yeah.
if you're an entrepreneur, you got to just say, you're going to have interactions with people and you're just going to have to say, thanks. I'm not the person to work with you and move on.
That's exactly right. I think you hit on something so important, which is that thick skin and understanding that you're not for everyone,
Right.
and that's okay.
Right.
That's completely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think once you start, so this is something, this is kind of a personal thing that I used to when I first started. This was really hard, was because I'm a coach, right? Strategic divorce consultant. People would call up and say, "Okay, da 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 da. Yes, I want to work with you. What's the price?" I'd give them the price, and they go, "Oh, I just talked to so and so, and their price is, whatever, cheaper than you." And I'd be like, at first, my first instinct was to go, "Oh, well, okay, I'll match that price for you." And then, you have to stop and realize that your value is your value, and you have the right to set it, and for your product or service, and you don't have to meet
Yeah.
what everybody else does. And when
Right.
I realized that, that was a big transition for my business when I started doing
Right.
that.
And what they teach you in sales coaching is also to fill the value bucket, right? To help people to understand the unique values that you bring to the table. Just because someone is less expensive doesn't mean that they're going to do all the services that you offer, right? We get price competitive and price shopped all the time in our marketing agency about website building. Well, so and so will build me a website for half the cost. Okay,
Go
let them do
for
it.
it.
Go for it. Are they going to let you own it or do you own it? Are they going to optimize it for search engine optimization or is it just going to be a pretty site that sits there and nobody ever finds it? Are they going to make it in a way that you can edit it or are you going to have to pay them on an hourly basis every time you need to make a change? Poking holes in the difference besides what is the defining explanation behind just that price, that
Right.
dollar aspect? Because a price objection doesn't mean no. It just means tell me more.
Right.
Help me understand.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And this is where having somebody, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, working with a coach like Amber's group and her affiliate network or her network that she can provide services to help you with all these different aspects. It is so much easier than doing it like from scratch on your own. And there's nothing wrong with doing it from scratch on your own if you feel comfortable with doing all these tasks, but there are so many things to do that you can spend hundreds of hours learning this stuff, or you can just hire somebody who already knows what they're doing and get them to do it, and it's done and it's right the first time. That's a big difference when
Right.
you're starting a business too. Yeah.
It's so true. It's an exchange of time for money. That's
Yeah.
really what it is. And
Right.
delegating your lesser strengths so that you can focus on the things that you are great at.
Right, right. So Amber, we have covered a bunch of stuff and I love this because I think it's so empowering for women if they are interested in being an entrepreneur to know that there are resources out there to help them accomplish this. So of everything that you've shared with us today, what do you think is the takeaway or the golden bit of wisdom you'd like to leave with everyone?
I just want to leave the comment that entrepreneurship is a ride. It is a risk. It is incredibly rewarding. If you are wanting to be an entrepreneur, then I want to encourage you to go for it. There are tons of grants. There are tons of small business resources that exist now, especially for female entrepreneurs. So dive in, take the risk. It's the most rewarding experience of your life. But then also understand too that if it's not for you, that there's no shame in that either. And there are a lot of people that work a full-time job and consult on the side. That's
Yeah.
okay too.
Yeah. Great message. Now, Amber, you have kindly offered a gift for the audience. Can you just give us a little snippet about what that's going to be?
Sure, sure. So I am writing my fourth book. I can't believe it. It's book number four, and it's entitled Far Beyond Broken. And so, if anyone would like the prelude chapter of that book to help to encourage them or motivate them to find their own identity post-divorce, I'd be more than happy to share that chapter with them. All they have to do is contact me through my website, which is farbeyondmarketing.com, fill out a form, and say, send me the book. Or you can follow me on social media and DM me and say, send the book.
Wonderful. And I will make sure your website information is in the show notes. So you can just, if you're busy driving or doing something, don't worry about it. You can just go there, click on it, and that'll take you directly to Amber's site and you can request that. So, Amber, thanks so much for being here today and sharing this. I think it's been a fun conversation, and hopefully it's inspired somebody to go out there and become an entrepreneur.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Marty. And, blessings to you and the audience in this personal growth path. It's a ride.
It is. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening in. Don't forget to tune in to the next D Shift, and please reach out and talk to Amber if you're interested in getting your own business started. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.